If your New Year's resolution is to be more active, you are certainly not alone. For mothers with young children, finding the time to focus on their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, though, can be a challenge. One local nonprofit is helping to overcome that. It's called Surfing Moms. It started on Oahu last September, and it helps moms and other caretakers connect for what is essentially a beach day. It is modeled after the popular Surfing Moms organization in Australia, and in the months since its inception in our islands, it's expanded to California, adding new chapters in San Francisco, Santa Cruz, and Redondo Beach. The Conversations Russell Subiano sat down with the group's founder and president, Elizabeth Madin, to talk about how surfing helps with the postpartum experience.
According to your website, Surfing Mom's mission is to help improve maternal, mental, physical, spiritual health by helping moms and other caretakers get back in the water after having children. For those who aren't familiar with postpartum struggles, can you talk about what some, maybe all mothers experience to some degree after giving birth?
It's such a life-changing event, which is such an understatement, of course. But, you go from being this one-man show to suddenly being in charge of another human, which comes with obviously a huge responsibility. And I suppose that different people take that on in different ways. And, for some people, it's an extraordinarily joyous time, which is great. And that's what you hope, but it's not for everyone. And, it can ebb and flow. Sometimes it's joy intermixed with deep feelings of desperation and sort of anxiety about what am I doing and how am I allowed to be in charge of this little human? So, and it also sometimes comes with a feeling of isolation in that, you suddenly are marching to a different beat than all the people you used to hang out with. And, unless you have other mothers or fathers that you can relate to, it can be quite isolating. And in this country, I don't think we have, and we do have some great postpartum support networks, but, there's not a default where, you're automatically, say, put together with a group of new mothers from the day you walk out of the hospital, like I was in Australia. I was very fortunate to have that. But I think a lot of people in any country struggle with just that newness of being a parent.
Do you have children?
I do. We have 3 children. They're 12, 10, and 5.
Awesome. What was your experience like when you became a mom? Would you be willing to share what your postpartum experience was like?
Of course. I was fortunate that I didn't experience myself any what I would call postpartum depression or anything like that. But, just like everyone else, I had huge bouts of anxiety and uncertainty about what am I doing? Am I doing this right? What really helped me so much at the time when I had my first child, the hospital that I gave birth in Australia, in Sydney, automatically put us together, a bunch of us who'd had babies around the same time, lived in the same area. So that was great. We automatically had a mini sort of manufactured but very helpful support network. But I actually ended up finding a group of women through a postpartum yoga class where you go with your baby. And those have become some of my lifelong friends and were a huge support during that time. So I'm just so thankful that I had that. It wasn't until I discovered Surfing Moms after my second child. So that was probably 3 years into parenthood. I discovered Surfing Moms in Australia, which is a nationwide network of groups that meet like we do here now. And that was just a total game changer for me. It was just it got me back into surfing. It got me doing, realizing that, hey, I can be a mother, but I can be an even better mother if I am taking care of myself in terms of what I love to do in sport and just spiritually being in the ocean and just having that space to kind of take a pause, surf, come back and be a better parent. So, I had tons of ups and downs like we all do, mothers and fathers alike, but I was pretty fortunate that I kind of fell into a couple of really good support networks.
I'm glad that you brought up surfing. What is it about surfing that you believe makes it an effective coping and healing mechanism?
For me, and for a lot of the moms that I know, I think a lot of us find that being in a situation that's just, we're not in control for a start. I mean, you're really not when you're in the ocean. The ocean's in control. And I think that's a little bit of it, is being in a place where there's something bigger than you and you're part of that. And because of that, to me, it takes, a lot of concentration to focus on. I mean, there's easy days, but when you're out there and it's a bit wild, that's what you're focused on. And so for me, that's a bit of a meditation, really. It kind of forces me to be right in the present moment and nothing else. And that, I think, is really nice. I love being a mother, but I also appreciate those breaks from kind of having to make decisions and look after 3 little humans and so on. So it's nice to have that break from that, but also to really focus on just the present and what you're doing, and how, how that makes you feel is different all the time. But I think it can be really rejuvenating for a parent.
There's not many things in our lives that we can do where we have to be 100% present in the moment. Can you talk about your group, Surfing Moms? Can you tell me, how did it start? Who can join? How does it work? Can you kind of just give our listeners an idea of what that experience is like?
Sure. Well, it started very organically. Basically, when I moved here permanently from Australia, where I mentioned I'd been part of the Surfing Moms group there, which has been around for maybe about 10 years. I thought, I don't know anyone here and I'd really like to get out surfing. But I've got 3 small children, and, so there's not a whole lot of opportunity unless I trade off with my husband. But I'm not great at going to new surf breaks on my own. I'd rather go with someone. And just generally, I think surfing is great, but surfing with friends is sort of magical. So I just decided, you know what, I don't really have the time or the energy for this, but I need it. So I'm just going to throw it out there. And I just started telling people, whoever wanted to show up, come meet me at the beach at such and such day and time. I'll be there. And if you want to swap surfing, we can. And the first day, miraculously, a couple of people showed up. And then, after that, more or less, people showed up every week. We just made it the same time every week. It was at the time, I think Friday. Well, now it is still Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. at one of the surf breaks around Kailua. And what we do is we basically show up and pair up so that, say, if you and I are the ones there, I'm looking after your kids while you surf and you're looking after my kids while I surf. And we each have about an hour to, get your kids sunscreened up and get them fed with snacks and happy and settled on the beach. And then we do that sort of 1-to-1 swap. So it keeps it really safe. And then you go out and surf. You probably have like 30 or 40 minutes out in the water, come back, feel better, swap roles, and then, go home happy and salty and think about next week. That's pretty much how it works. But as far as who can join, we're really open to any parents or caregivers or anyone who has children and would like to get back in the water. It's not just for new mothers. I'm not a new mother, and most of, there's a whole range of people with newborn babies all the way to people like me with middle schoolers. So it's for any parents or caregivers that want to, meet people, surf together, have their kids have a great time on the beach and build that community.
What's been the feedback that you've gotten? What kind of results have you seen?
What I've seen in the people that have come either once or twice or regularly is just that, I don't want to oversell it, but it really sort of builds a new dimension back into life. And it's not just getting back in the water to surf. That is a big part of it. But I've really seen perhaps even the most benefit in the community building. For me, it was just a game changer. I really had kind of not been surfing when I first had my first 2 children. I hadn't been surfing. I took like a sort of unexpected, unwelcome 4-year surfing hiatus until I found Surfing Moms in Australia. And that really sort of reintroduced that element of my life back into my life. And I'm so thankful because it's added a new dimension to life that could have otherwise been lost. And I've seen that in a lot of people, a lot of the mothers that come, they get back into it and they thought, wow, I thought this was lost, but no, I can actually do this, and makes me feel better, be a better person, better parent.
What does surfing do for you? What do you love about it? In fact, how did you start surfing?
I grew up in Kentucky on the mainland, so I guess it wasn't until, I started surfing actually here in Hawaii en route back to Australia when we were living there. So I was probably 24, 25. And I just went down to Waikiki and, took a lesson and got pushed on a maybe 11-foot board and actually stood up and suddenly felt that stoke and thought, I've got to do this again. So ever since then, I've kind of been just on the journey of progressing, but just trying to have fun. Keeps me younger probably a little bit, but also because it's easy to get weighed down in the minutia of everyday life, whether it's work or parenting or whatever, but it pulls me out of that and kind of infuses life into every day that I surf, is a better day than it would have otherwise been. And most days are pretty good, but it's definitely better when I've been in the water, and it just gives me a feeling of sort of aliveness that I don't get from anything else. And I like that it kind of introduces a bit of uncertainty and an element of wildness into your life.
It's also kind of a badge of honor too, right? When you tell people that you surf, their eyes get big and there's always that, they're very impressed by you. So I kind of like that too.
Yeah, I always like to qualify it with, I've been surfing for a while now, but you wouldn't know it from watching me surf. I'm not that good, but I have a lot of fun.
Now, for For moms in states without access to waves, what can they do to have a similar experience? Do you know if there's like a kayaking moms or a stand-up paddleboarding moms group in places that are more landlocked?
That is my hope, actually, that, where there aren't already things like that, that someone who, say, lives in a landlocked area, like where I grew up, might hear of us or something, hear of the model of, hey, they're doing this with surfing and swapping and building community. I could do that with, as you say, whatever your thing is. I mean, it could be, art moms. It could be, yoga moms. It could be hiking moms. I'm sure a lot of these things do exist, but I think what is great about the model that we've really adopted from the Australian surfing moms is that you don't have to pair up with someone and hope that their schedule matches up with yours. You just know there's a certain day and time, and you show up and there's going to be someone else, and you only need two to do your thing. It's my hope that people will start up more of that kind of thing in whatever it is that gives them life.
That was Elizabeth Madin, founder and president of Surfing Moms, talking with HPR's Russell Subiono. And don't worry, Surfing Moms welcome dads and other caretakers to the group. Later today, we'll have links to learn more about the group on the conversation page of our website, HawaiiPublicRadio.com.